What's going on, everybody? So I was having a conversation with my brother this morning about my business and what he thinks I should do, and kind of just going through things and why things are hard or not working, and the differences between all of us and stuff like that. And pretty much, he's 6 years older than I am. He's 40. I'm 34. So we're in that millennial group and everything, and I watch a lot of videos on millennials versus the previous generations and whether we have it harder or not. And so the general consensus is that millennials have it a little bit financially harder, and a lot of what they nail down or what they're talking about is housing. So how your housing is about 6 to 9 times your yearly income. Your average housing is 6 to 9 times the average yearly income, where, you know, in the 70s and 80s it was about 2 to 4 times your average yearly income. Stuff like that, and maybe a little bit of inflation. I mean, so they dealt with a bunch of, gas prices and everything back in the 70s. I don't know how high they went, but it was shocking to them at least. But yeah, I feel like it's more than that. So I bought my house in 2005 when I was 16 years old. I did a real estate contract. I was emancipated and considered an adult when I was a little bit younger. Did a real estate contract with a lady, and bought this little single wide on half an acre, and at 8% interest, which I always bitched about because that was a lot higher than what everyone else was paying. I mean, my brother was like 1.75% interest or something, and most people were in the 2 to 3% interest range. But funny enough, that made me hammer away because the only way to battle interest is to double up on payments and stuff. So I always lived pretty frugal, and I got my house paid off when I was 25. Um, always kind of struggled and everything. It was a $1,200 a month house payment, something like that, and I was putting extra towards it as much as I could. And at my jobs, I only made about $2,000 a month. These were pretty highly skilled jobs: mechanic, machinist, welder, fabricator, electrical jobs, generator mechanic for drilling rigs. Always had a lot of the higher skilled jobs, but the the wage range around here, which we've talked about as well, is for somebody that doesn't know anything, that's just willing to show up to work, is about $15 an hour now. That's Target, McDonald's, Walmart, stuff like that. That's seems to be, I think minimum wage is 12, but people are willing to pay over that for people that are willing to show up. But then on the opposite end of the scale, people that are highly skilled laborers, and this is in my area, and everyone doesn't get this, that your area, I'm in a pretty depressed community or whatever, but so I was only able to make 17, $18 an hour when I left the workforce about 7 or 8 years ago to start my own business. It was really, really hard to break $20 an hour. It basically wasn't happening. So nowadays people are making over 20, but the highly skilled workers, like the Ford dealership called me and they said, we need mechanics, yada, yada, yada. And, I'm almost 20 years into mechanicking now, and I have $250,000 in tools, and lots of experience. I've machined engines and rebuilt transmissions, done everything. And I said, well, what are you paying? They said, well, someone at your skill level, you could make about $22 an hour. So between Target, McDonald's, and the Ford dealership, being an A-Tech, is $7 an hour. So I've had 2 other people offer me jobs before I started my business. I got laid off a bunch back in the day. Oil field companies shut down, closed their doors left and right back in 2008 to 2012, somewhere in there. And we just, every job we would go start, we'd get laid off. And back then you'd get, 18, 19 bucks an hour was good wages. So you'd go start, work your ass off. I mean, so that's the other thing is 16, 17, 18 hours a day. So you're making pretty good money at the end of the week. But then they would close up, lay off, fire, whatever, switch employees quite a bit, and you'd go on to the next job. So I had 2 people offer me jobs. One was my wife's old business. She worked for a car dealership. And I probably had about 10 years experience then. I was rebuilding engines and stuff as a teenager for people, for jobs. I mean, there was people bringing me engine rebuilds, and I was doing that stuff. And they said, well, we'll start you out at 12 bucks an hour. And I just kind of laughed, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And they said, well, we can work you up to 15. I said, I could go make 15 bucks an hour out of my driveway, and in the dirt, I can probably make 30, 40 bucks an hour out of my driveway, and be at home and not have to drive to work and pick and choose my jobs and not have all that. And they just snicker. Yeah, good luck with that. Blah, blah. They treated their mechanics terrible. So my friend calls me, and he's a really good friend of mine, and he says, hey, I need another tech here. Got a job. And I said, oh, I'll check on it, see what so we go through, and he's had me show up, and he's got a bunch of mechanics there, about nine or 10 mechanics, and he's had me help them diagnose things because those 9 or 10 mechanics couldn't do it. He's had me do jobs, program things because they didn't have the equipment, and I did. And I've helped him out at his shop a lot. And I was like, okay, well, what are you hiring at? And he says, someone with your skill level, we can probably get you 15 bucks an hour. And I said, yeah, dude, I don't work for 15, man. I was like, it's not happening. I'm not doing that anymore. So I went home, and because at the time I just found out I can make 40, 50, 60 bucks an hour out of my driveway or being mobile. And there was definitely struggles involved, but it was definitely more money than I made. I was making more money on the side because I had this house payment and I was trying to get it paid off, and it made me go do a bunch of side work. And then eventually the side work built up big enough where it was outperforming the jobs, which is most people's path to owning a business. So I started a business, and here we are 7-8 years later, and I've got my mechanic shop, lifts, AC machines, tire machine. I've got all this stuff, and I do pretty well, but it fell off. Like, I make less money now than I was making back then, because now I have the shop payment, the insurance, the employee payment, the taxes for them, the Social Security bullshit, the workman's comp, all these bills. So now we're, making a whole lot of money gross, but the profit has went down quite a bit. So your average mechanic shop makes about 25% profit. So meaning I have to do about $100,000 a year in gross to make 25. So to make 50, to get up there at your average American income, I got to do about $200,000 a year out of here. But which, out of a lot of mechanic shops, that's pretty easy to do. That's not that hard, except I'm way out here in the country, and parts are hard, and training's hard, and these vehicles, everything got hard. So I opened up the other businesses, but the awning business and the trash business, which have their own battles. But it's something, my whole point is it's something more than housing that my house is paid off and I still struggle. My brother, he lives in a bigger area, really, Houston, Texas. You know, it's big economy and everything like that. And his house isn't his main problem. His main problem is wages. So his same thing was he makes $20 an hour or something. He's a low skilled employee. He doesn't really have a skill set to fall back on, and I could probably make a lot more money in Houston, but yeah, then at the same rate, you know, I have my guys and I can't pay them that much either. I try to pay them as much as I can, but the money's just not there. Like I'm not making any money as it is. All this money's going out the door, so I can see why some people's wages are lower, but at the same rate, when I worked for those other shops, I mean, we were producing, you know, at the one shop I was doing about $30,000 a week at the machine shop for those guys, and I was $17 an hour. So they definitely had the money to pay me more than what I was making, but at the same rate, they can just get rid of me and hire on some other person that'll work for $17 an hour. And there used to be a big pool of employment or employees that will luckily do that. And now the problem these days is everyone's quiet quitting and doing the minimum, and the Gen Zs and everything, they just do the minimum. They're all pretty skillless employees from what I've seen. So my wife is the younger end of the millennial pool, and we were just talking today, not a single one of her friends, the entire group that I know, owns a house. I don't know anyone really under the age of 27 that owns a house. And you talk to all the millennials, and at 20 some, I don't even know how old a millennial or a Gen Z is. You talk to them all and they don't have any aspirations owning. They haven't even thought about it. Like 20 years old, that might be a millennial. I don't know how old a millennial is, but these younger people, 20 to 25 years old, and they're like, owning a house isn't even realistic anymore to them. But that's because they've kind of swung back. They're not really going out of their way. They're not going to work 40, 50 hours a week and then coming home and doing a side job 20, 30 hours a week to try to get ahead in life. That generation definitely isn't going to do that. But yeah, it's just crazy. The workplace, everything's changing, and I don't know where the money's at anymore. I don't know where things are going or anything. But you know, my brother just joined this quiet quitting, taking it nice and easy, and he lives a pretty nice life. But that technically means he's tapped out where he's at. Just his average house with his 10-year-old Toyota Camry or whatever it is, and just going to work every day, and that's going to be the rest of his life, I would imagine. I mean, we kind of both agree on that. Sorry, my phone got a call or something. So I wanted to do more than that in life, but I might. So his thought is I'll probably work my ass off and struggle and fight every day at this job running these businesses, and it's no advantage. It's still not gonna help me at all. It's still gonna wind up in the same place. But I bought this awning business from a guy. He's about 70 years old now, and this business has been around for 70 years. Amazing product, patented. I'm the only one that has it. It's a really nice product. And he said back in 2000 to 2001, something like that, he was doing about $300,000 or $400,000 a year and 50% profit. So $200,000 a year that he is bringing home from this business. And when he sold it to me, he was doing about $80,000 a year and about 40,000 profit, but everything was paid for. He was retired. He was 60 something years old, had cancer, and that was good enough for him. 40,000 is good. That's more than I made at most of my previous jobs. So this year, I think I've sold about 4 or 5 awnings. It's definitely not a full-time job. It's a great side job, and it makes good money. But I got hit with the fine over some of this stuff, for a $12,000 fine for putting up one of these awnings, which in his 50 years of putting up awnings, not once has he ever been screwed with by the government. And I think it was like the 3rd awning that I put up this year. They just cracked down on me really, really hard on the engineering that's been on these awnings for 50 years that's been working. And their thought was that engineering from 50, 60, 70 years ago isn't qualified for today. Like, I mean, it was, yeah, they're not happy with that. So I'm having to get that all redone, and I got fined for all this, and there's no laws. It's all a gray area and everything. So that got complicated. So I'm starting these businesses and ending up with new problems and just stuff that's just hammering me to death. But so the other interesting part is another quick story. Well, not quick. I mean, this is dragging on, but it's all just interesting things that I think about, and me and my brother were talking about. So the awning business only sells to people over 60 years old. There's no one for these particular awnings. I've never sold one to anyone under 60. Carports sell to everyone above 40, 45 is about the youngest that I've ever sold to. 60 is my main demographic that I sell carports to. And the carports, you have to be extremely competitive. There's 100 companies that do it, Versatube and all these other guys, and there's not much money involved in those. Like you make $20, $30 an hour profit at the end of it, something like that. It's not, and that's supplying a truck and the fuel and employees and permits, and you're just working your ass off to sell these things. And if one mistake goes wrong, you lose your ass. So on the other side, on the older side, I sell them to these other awnings to 60-year-old and up. Their retirement, and they want their porch swing covered on the back porch and everything. Well, I got a call the other day that this guy wanted an awning. He owned this big car lot in town. He had this cabin out in the mountains, and the old owner of this business sold him an awning 13 years ago. 67 feet wide, 8 foot out from the house. And later on, I found out he paid $5,000 for this awning 13 years ago. Because things were, about, I think that's $10 a square foot, if I'm not mistaken. These are made out of aluminum. I have to drive 8 hours to the distributor to go get them. There's a bunch of things involved. There used to be a distributor 2 or 3 hours from here, but that one closed down. Manufacturing, because I have the patent and everything on these awnings now. So we have them manufactured in Phoenix. And so this guy's like, yeah, I need this awning. I'm retired. I sold my car lot, multi-millionaire. So I drive an hour and 45 minutes to this guy's cabin. Get there, and I look at the awning, and he's like, okay, so I want to put this awning that this guy installed on the other side, and I want to put a new awning on the front side that's twice the size. Actually, a little over. He wanted 18 foot out. He added 10 foot on. And so I have to take down this old awning, install it on the back side, build this new awning, plus now the material is a lot thicker, because the codes have changed in the last 13 to 17 years, that I have to meet a higher snow load, which is odd because we get less snow now. There's not as much snow, but they used to approve these awnings for this area, and now we're up in Colorado, and so now I have to go from an 18 thousandths thick material to a 38 thousandths thick material. Adds cost. And I told him, and I said, these are a lot thicker, you know, they're a lot stouter, you can walk on them, you can't walk on these old ones, and yada yada yada. So I write up the quote, and I'm like, man, you know, we can use this material and we can reuse this, and I don't have to do this labor because it's already done. And so I said, okay, it's going to be $12,000. And instantly says, not fucking happening. And I was like, okay, that's an odd response. And I go, why? What do you mean? He goes, way too expensive. And I go, well, what were you expecting to pay for something like this? And I don't make much money. There's maybe a little bit of bargain room in there. And he says, about $5,000. No more than $5,000. And I said, well, I looked up your ticket, and that's what you paid for this awning 13 years ago. That's half the size. And he says, oh yeah, maybe, but not paying that now. And I said, well, things have got a lot more expensive. I said, 13 years ago, minimum wage was like $5 an hour, or 17, however long it's been. And I said, these are aluminum, you know, materials gone up. I said, we have Biden economics now. We have, you know, COVID changed everything. I got to drive all the way to Phoenix. I said, I'm going to be straightforward with you. My material cost alone are $7,800. And we have an hour and 45 minutes for me to bring 3 or 4 guys up here, 2 trucks, the trailer, hauling the material, and possibly ending up, you know, having to spend another day, the permits, all this other stuff. You know, there's no way, you know, I'm giving you the deal of a century, and then we're having to install this. And I was like, why would you think you can get twice the awning installed, plus actually 3 times the awning, because now we're installing the other one 13 years later for the same price as you paid 13 years ago? I don't understand it, but I deal with that a lot with these boomers, for lack of a better term, these older people. And this is a big, 100-acre ranch in Colorado and everything like that. And I just said, well, I'm sorry we can't come to terms. And he says, I'll pay for your gas money. I said, no need, man. I don't really care about the gas money. Like, I'm just, yeah. Call me if you want to get this done. We'll see if he calls. But I deal with that all the time. We had this other lady we just got done with, and I took half down, which was a normal business scenario. You know, we take 50% down, schedule you're in. And she says, well, I want this awning tangerine orange. I've never painted an awning, neither did the previous guy. And I said, yeah, we can do that. I'll paint this awning and everything. So we paint it tangerine orange. She said, well, I want a beam to put the ceiling fan on. Yeah, we can put a beam, put the ceiling fan on. Made all these custom brackets and everything. We spend 2 days at this job, 106 degrees, and do this awning, and we finish at like 7:30 at night one night. And she says, well, I didn't know you were going to take this long, so I didn't get your money out of the bank. 2 days on this awning. She didn't even have to be there. She watched us do it the whole time. And I go, that's fine. Will you be around tomorrow? She says, yeah, I'll be around. And she says, well, what time? I can't wait around all day. And I go, well, I'm available after 10:30. She says, okay, just give me a call before you come over. So I wake up, everything. I'm messing around the house doing paper. This is on a Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. And just getting paperwork done. I get a text message on my phone at 11 o'clock. This lady's 60-something-year-old. She says, I can't be your fucking hostage all day long. I have things to do. I'm going out of town for a few weeks. I'll talk to you when I get back. Memorial Day weekend, I said it. So Monday wasn't anything. I said, okay, listen to me. This awning has to be paid for by Tuesday. And she says, well, call me on Tuesday and we'll see how I feel. So obviously I was pissed off. I was like, man, this lady's nuts, you know. And so we call her on Tuesday and she says, well, come over. I have your check ready and I want to show you a few things. So we painted this awning orange at the shop, and she goes up to it and she says, why are all the screws silver? Why are the screws not painted? I said, well, because we painted the awning at there and we came and installed it. Like, the screws are, she says, well, all those screws look ugly. I said, man, there's nothing I can do for you about that. I said, that's a kind of an odd thing. And she goes, huh, well, okay. And she goes, well, I want this power line moved over. Because now the power line looks weird. I go, okay, well, doesn't have anything. I can't move a power line. I'm not an electrician. And she goes, well, and she's just sitting here trying to figure out, and this is a $4,500 awning. And she's just sitting here trying to figure out how she's going to get more out of me. And she goes, well, you got handprints on the house. And I looked and I go, oh yeah, sure enough, we're using these. We brought the drills from the shop. We have a mechanic shop. The grease got onto the drill and my guys touched the side of the house. And I said, yeah, sure enough, we did. I said, let me wipe those off for you. So my wife goes and gets a magic eraser, some soap and water, wipes them. She says, well, I want the house repainted. I said, man, we are not repainting your house. And I don't know what to do. This lady has this check and I don't know what to do with it. And she says, I'm going to watch this awning. If it leaks at all, I'm suing you. I'm suing you if it leaks at all. And I said, ma'am, I told you that, you know, sometimes leaks happen. We just have to come back and seal them up and stuff like that. And I said, sometimes these things sweat and drip. Oh, it better not. It better not drip. She's just being, and I deal with this constantly. It's always the same shit with these people. So awning business, you know, makes good money, but we only sell them to that generation, and that generation is fucking nuts. And it's always the same stuff. Sometimes we just went and installed one a couple days ago for a lady, and I thought she was for sure going to be nuts because she said, I want this blocked off because there's people in those bushes and they watch me, and I don't want the people in the bushes watching me. So I was like, shit, I should probably walk away and not sell her an awning. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And I was like, okay, we need 75% down. So she gives me 75%. A couple weeks later, we go install the awning. She goes, I love this thing. And she gives us the rest cash and we leave out of there. This is like a 60-something-year-old Asian lady. She obviously had a little bit of schizophrenia going on, but didn't cause any problems. You never know. It was such an odd situation. But yeah, every day's a battle in this business. It's always something. I don't know if business is even a good idea to run anymore because the people that have the money are used to things costing $1.25. I mean, we literally get crazy things. We had trash service. We had a lady call us and she says, I pay $12 a month for trash service. Can you beat that? And I was like, what is that? $3? $3 a week. She's wondering if I can charge less than $3 a week to come to her house and dump the trash, which cost me $5 on average for a can. I said, no, I can't beat that. And she just lost her shit. She's like, well, this is ridiculous. I'm paying all this money and nobody's willing to work it. And she just went nuts. And I was like, okay, well, whatever. So the people that have the money are old and going nuts. And the people who are work age aren't willing to work anymore. And you've got the middle generation, Gen X or whatever like that. They're basically do everything themselves, handymen. They're not willing to pay for services, which I'm more along. I've never paid for a service in my life. I just do everything myself around here. And Gen X does that same thing. They don't really hire out people to do things, unless you can do it for cheaper than they can. So they'll pay you to mow their lawn the same price as it would cost them in fuel to mow their lawn or lawnmower maintenance or whatever time. Like if they can go to their job for 20 bucks an hour and instead of mow the lawn, they'll give you 20 bucks to mow the lawn. Stupid stuff like that. I mean, I've been, like I said, 10 years of running businesses, and it's a battle every day. So this is a 30-minute video now. Don't know if anyone's going to watch it. That's my millennial running and so you guys can't say that millennials don't try, because there's reasons that they don't, and the ones that do are just it's fucking hard. I mean, it is a brutal environment to try to grow a business in and to try to make it in. And then I've got people that tell me, well, you're doing it wrong and you need to charge more and you need to do all this stuff. And I do all this. There's no one my age, in their 30s and 40s, that really has any different opinion on how much this sucks. Everyone in their 50s and 60s and 70s are the ones that are saying how smart they are and you should do what they did, and we're doing it wrong. But it's just doesn't work that way. Their shops and everything are paid off, and we're paying $3,000 a month for shop payment, which that's not expensive to some of you. That's very expensive around here. This is 1,200 square foot shop. The shop that I used to work in that my boss ran was 12,000 square foot, and it was $800 a month. So yeah, there's other things going on in the world these days. So there's my rant for the day. I have to go get my guys busy. There's a bunch of other shit going on. There's problems, endless problems going on right now. I've hired about 6 people to do one job, and for 3 weeks it hasn't got done yet. I think it would only take me about 3 days to accomplish. So they were all having problems last night. There was 3 or 4 of them, and I went and fixed those problems in about 5 minutes. They spent 3 or 4 hours and haven't figured it out yet. And these are all people that are supposed to be professional in their field. So 5 or 6 people have been on and off this job for 3 weeks. I can go do it in 3 days. The problem is I have 40 other jobs that also require me, and I'm behind on all of them. So I don't know where this is going. I don't know how to continue, if I'm going to continue trying to expand business, or if I'm just going to take the bread and butter and run and just maybe stick with me and my guys that are the badass loyal guys. I've got 3 of them that do their thing, and I never have to worry about them and just get enough work for us. But I wanted to expand more than that. But I've just hit these walls. Every time I try to do something, I hit a wall. So anyways, I don't know who watches videos like this for 30 minutes long, but if you do, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And yeah, like and subscribe. Have a good day.